We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com.
Welcome to another edition of AVRant. I'm Tom Andrew, and I'm here with
Rob H. This is AVRant. It's your home theater and AV questions answered. And welcome back, Tom. For some reason, it feels like you've been away for like ages in my mind.
A week.
Yeah.
It's
go ahead.
2 weeks in a day, right?
2 weeks in a day. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, thanks to Lee Overstreet for filling in last week on somewhat short notice. The person who was podcasting with me for over 3 hours last week, simply because...
Why can't you be normal when I'm not around?
Because we included the slideshow of Lee's visit to Vancouver, where we did meet up in person.
You guys were all subjected to that nonsense? Oh, well, thank God I wasn't there for that.
We put it at the end so people could absolutely skip over it for the entire... And it was over an hour of slideshow at the end, which was not our intention, but it's just we went through the whole story of his 5-day stay and all the sights and scenes and foods and everything that he enjoyed while he was in Vancouver.
People actively avoid slideshows of people's vacations. That's the whole...
We gave ample heads up at the beginning and before we began the slideshow. There are absolutely people who didn't want to see that, but you know what? We got some comments of people who did enjoy it, so it was there to skip. It wasn't the it was only 1/3 of the podcast, not. And
I found out that we were giving away another or maybe some more Sofabatons. I started getting emails and I thought they were jokes. I thought they were joking in that they saw the podcast late and were trying to or had
sure
whatever, and then you were joking by saying, "Oh yeah, I got it," and I was like, "Wait a second, it keeps happening."
Like the first two or three, maybe, right? But once we got up into the 20s, you were like, "Wait a second, this must be something new.
There must be something going on."
Yeah, no, we do have as we announced last week, we're giving people at least a couple of weeks to enter this. We have at least one U3, so the brand new Sofabaton U3. In fact, you know what? I've got one here still. I can hold it up. So it's the brand new Sofabaton U3, the fully self-contained, not hub-based. All of the signals come out of the wand itself. This is now their quote-unquote entry-level model, the Sofabaton U3, normally selling for $130. But we will have at least one to give away. In fact, I can now feel very confident in saying we will have more than one to give away, and that the more than one Sofabaton U3 that we give away almost certainly will come with the charging dock. So no guarantees on anything. I am guaranteeing at least one Sofabaton U3 remote will be given away, but chances seem very high that it will be, in fact, more than one and with a charging dock. So to enter... to get your name into, it's just going to be a completely random draw. No purchase necessary, no subscription necessary. You don't have to be a Patreon donor or a PayPal donor or anything like that. Completely unpaid, free giveaway that we're doing so that we're not running afoul of any laws or anything like that. All you have to do to enter, one entry per person, we are putting that limitation on it, is email us. Question@avrant.com is our email address. You email us there, put in the subject line or in the body of the email there that you would like to enter for the Sofabaton U3 giveaway, and I will email you back that I received your entry. If you have already emailed question@avrant.com and said you'd like your name entered in the Sofabaton U3 giveaway, and you didn't get an email back from me, and please check your spam folder because sometimes my replies go to people's spam or junk folders. But if you didn't get a reply from me that I received your entry, then send it again because we are definitely not eliminating anyone from this draw unless you already entered, and I recognize that it's the same name twice, then you only get one entry, not more than one. That's the rule.
All right. And I guess there's a discount code, or is that not live yet?
Yes, so I can say at this point our previous Sofabaton discount codes on the X1S and the X2, I tested them and they do not seem to work anymore, which is totally fair because we were told originally that they were going to stop working at the end of May, and they apparently kept working until June the 15th. And so that seemed to be how things were going, but I tested them yesterday morning and they were no longer working. So we do have a brand new discount code. It's very small because it is on the brand new Sofabaton U3. They aren't really discounting that heavily just yet, as it is now officially and fully launched, and the full software and firmware are ready to go, and you can go ahead and buy this thing. But you can get a 5% off discount, which is obviously not particularly large, but hey, it's better than absolutely nothing. Maybe it covers your sales tax if you have that in your state or something like that.
Shipping or something.
Yeah, exactly. So we will have links in our show notes and description that will take you, if you want to buy it directly from the Sofabaton website, the code does work there, and it also works at our Amazon affiliate link. Again, it's only 5% off, and the code is, in all caps, AVRant Rob. No spaces. All one word, all caps, AVRant Rob. You put that in the discount code section, and it'll take 5% off. I will note, as I was testing it this morning, on Sofabaton's own website, they don't let you stack coupon codes, and they have their own coupon code going right now, which actually gives you more dollars off than my 5% coupon code right now. But I haven't been told of any expiration date on the AVRant Rob 5% off coupon. So particularly if you're buying at Amazon, it will lower the price by 5% for you. So there you go.
There you go. All right, so last week I was working, and then Wednesday we were supposed to do the podcast, which is what we're doing this week, because I was working yesterday as well, which Rob forgot about, even though I told him multiple times.
I definitely remembered last week that it was going to be Wednesday, but I forgot that it was going to be 2 weeks in a row, which I did recall after you reminded me, like, oh, yeah, he did say that. But it was no harm, no foul. It all worked out fine.
You're lucky I picked up the phone to check it, because I was literally about to start a presentation in front of a whole bunch of people, and I looked at my phone and I was like, what the hell?
I mean, I would have figured it out eventually.
So he sat there in front of his computer going, what is going on with Tom? Yeah, and then I had an eye appointment last week. I get my eyes checked again. You know, I guess. So what I was told, and I don't know if this is true if you're an ophthalmologist or optometrist or whatever, that after you get your eyes, if you finally get glasses, like it takes a couple of times to get your prescription kind of dialed in. I don't know if that's true or not, but so I've been now 3 times to get my eyes checked, and the first time was pretty big, and the second time they changed my prescription. I know I talked about it, and it was making me dizzy, and they had to change it again, and so I went back. I went to a different doctor. Every time I've gone to a different doctor, and this time I went to my wife's doctor. I don't know why I was ever going anyplace else, but she was like, "You should go to my doctor." I'm like, "I didn't know you had a doctor, and you don't even wear glasses." So whatever.
Yeah, she does. That would have been the dead giveaway that I was wondering about. But yeah, if she doesn't wear corrective lenses, then I can't blame you.
She's
for not
got
guessing.
some, but she uses them only for like looking at the computer or whatever. She has. Sounds a lot like me when I first got my glasses. I was like, I just needed low light. I just have some low light issues, so I'm like, yeah, that means you need glasses. But she, for whatever reason, doesn't want to wear glasses. So, anyways, I went to him, and he's like, yeah, your prescription is basically the same.
Okay.
So that's good. Now I know what my prescription is. I don't have to really change it until things start getting blurry, I guess. And then I need to go get some glasses, but we'll see. We'll see how that happens. Right. We got.
I mean, if your prescription hasn't changed, why would you need new glasses?
Well, because I drop them from time to time.
You just want to have a spare set. That's different.
I also these are transition lenses, which I deeply regret getting.
Yeah.
And wish I hadn't, and had gotten like sunglasses and then regular glasses and just switched between them, because I'm very good at keeping my glasses. My wife is not. So she has a hard time. That's one of the reasons she doesn't want to wear glasses, because she knows she's going to lose them. Which to me, I'm like, if you wear them all the time, you can't lose them, right? If you can't see without them, how do you lose them? You always have to have them on your face. So we'll see. So changes, at least in Jesus Christ, this stupid chair. This
is just a noise.
Gamer chair is the worst. It is the worst. Everything moves on it. It creaks like crazy. My son got the wheels started falling apart or whatever, so he got like new wheels for it, but he got them from Amazon and whatever. They look like wheels off of a rollerblade or a Razor scooter or something, so they're a little bit taller, and the chair doesn't get low enough, so my feet are kind of dangling, and I just hate everything about this chair. I hate it so much. Like, the seat's too long, so my knees are like kind of straight.
Yep.
Just the whole thing is awful. So
sounds like a gamer chair to me. All right.
It is It is the worst. Of course, it's a cheap gamer chair, so it is what it is. But I'm sorry. So changes in my life, so that we kind of know going forward what's going to be going on. This room is going to be occupied by my son for at least the next semester. So he's not going to go live back in Tampa, which is only about 20, 30 minutes. His school is probably at 35 minutes away with no traffic, which is rare, but it does happen. So this room will continue to be occupied by this god-awful chair and everything else. I am going to get I have to get a new chair for this. My computer will be set up in here. I have many computer questions. My son is trying to get my computer up and running, and it's not a solid-state drive. It's a spinning disk. So it's an older.
It's slow.
It is slow, but it's really slow now. And so the question becomes, what do I replace the hard drive? Because he seems to think the hard drive is the problem, that it's failing or whatever.
I mean, it's part of the problem. Undoubtedly, it's part of the slowness problem.
And he's like, well, I would build you one, because he built his own computer. I would build you one, but right now, because of data farms or whatever, AI, memory, and
ridiculous
stuff.
RAM and storage. I mean, actually, it affects SSDs. So it's the prices are utterly insane at this point.
Right. So he's like, I can't. It doesn't make sense to try to. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do about this thing. Because I'd like to get that computer set up and then have this. I won't have to do this on my laptop anymore, because the laptop is also struggling.
I mean, there's a chance that I'm assuming that desktop hadn't been turned on in ages, and if you were turning it on
a year,
if you were turning it on and trying to do anything, like the number of background updates that are likely happening to that poor thing.
We had 48 hours of it just coming in here and just restarting it every time it asked. So we constantly check for that,
so
but it was slowing down before that. Before the I had noticed that. So we'll see. I don't know what we're going to do about it, but I got to do something with it. So my son will be here in this room for the next semester at the very least, because monetary reasons, can't afford school, all that stuff. So that will be a change for me. Shouldn't affect the podcast, other than I can't make the background be anything other than that bed that he refuses to make. So
we don't have a ton of the background visible in our split screen view, so just be prepared,
shows
folks.
Up.
You can put the fake blur on in StreamYard if you want to. That could cover it.
I really don't care about that. So anyways, for those of you that care about such things.
Okay.
And other than that, just been working a lot. So I'm trying to make sure that my schedule lines up so that I'm available for the podcast every week, but sometimes it doesn't work out. So like last week.
Sure. I guess I will say at this point, because I forgot to say it before, I want to apologize to Joe Klusnick, because I did say to him after the time I recorded with Lee 2 episodes ago, I said to Joe, "Oh, Joe, I'll come to you next whenever Tom is away." And so apologies, because it was calling an audible when Tom was away last week, simply because it was the opportunity for Lee and I to talk about Lee's vacation. So that was the reason, Joe. Absolutely nothing personal. I didn't forget about you. I'll contact you the next time Tom is away.
All right. There you go. And what you got going on? Anything interesting that we need to know about?
Oh gosh, no, nothing major going on in life. Yeah, there's just been family health stuff that I'm constantly taking care of in the background, but nothing like terrible to report, which is good. But there was some stuff going on. Nothing I'm going to say publicly. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well. All right, let's just get right into it then. Why beat around the bush? This is AVRant, the podcast that answers your home theater and AV questions. To get your questions answered, all you have to do is ask us by emailing us at question@avrant.com. Come to the website. You can find our shows or show notes, previous episodes, along with a Flickr album that will show you any pictures that we're referring to, and the show notes will have the links to any articles or products that we referenced during our answers of your questions.
Or discount codes like this.
Or discount codes, as the case may be, for a whopping 5% off. Just remember, my name got you a lot more off than Rob's
sure
name.
It did. Fitting.
So stupid. I wish you guys could see what I'm looking at here, because my son has just loaded up this desk with monitors. There's horizontal monitors, vertical monitors. He wants to start streaming again. I'm like, all right, kid, we have to come to some sort of compromise.
Got the vertical monitor for chat.
Yeah, he's got a side monitor for chat.
I've still never figured out how those streamers, like, they're actively playing the game and they're somehow reading chat, which is, if you're looking at the live chat, it's flying by. I'm like, how do these people do it? Are they able to slow down time in a way that I'm not? Because I don't understand how they do it.
I definitely don't understand, because I've seen people playing like Guitar Hero and like trying to beat the whatever that one
runs.
song, that dragon song is, or whatever they're doing, and they're answering questions at the same time. I'm like, how?
Like I can't keep up with just the chat by itself if I am actively staring at the chat screen, because the messages are flying by so quickly on that. I'm like, let alone also play a game.
And then they do it for like hours and hours and hours at a time.
Hours and hours.
I just, to me, I feel like you can't blink and do that. So at some point you have to stop. But I don't get it. I don't get
it. It's bewildering, but it's genuinely impressive. Because I'm like,
the only thing I think is, like, with the really like the smaller creators who, the chat isn't quite as active, they can maybe kind of do it themselves. But I think the only thing I can think is that they will they'll have moderators who will like hear it. They just watch the moderator send things into them. Maybe
I don't know. It doesn't seem like
that's not us.
It really doesn't seem that way.
I can't read 5 words in a row without messing up Joe Klusnick's name. So there you go.
We got way off track. We didn't finish our contact info.
Yes. So that's the website. You can find us at facebook.com/AVRant podcast, youtube.com/AVRant.
Yeah.
Where you can find the images will be embedded in the video, so you can just listen to it and then glance over if we talk about something that you might be interested in seeing. Contact Rob directly, rob@avrant.com. His socials is at First Reflect. I'm Tom at avrant.com. We want to thank our listeners of the week. To become a listener of the week, support the podcast in some way. One of the ways to do that is going to avrant.com, click on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link. That'll send you to a PayPal donation site. You can use your PayPal account or a credit card, and they will send, if it's PayPal, they send all, you just transfer in between PayPal accounts. They just send all the money to us. But if it's a credit card, they processing fee. But this month we had Dan do that, so thank you very much, Dan.
Yes, indeed. I mentioned how I didn't know if anybody had sent a PayPal donation last week, since I don't see those things and only Tom does, but it turns out that Dan did send us a PayPal donation. So thank you very much, Dan, for the financial support.
Great. And then we have patreon.com/AVRant podcast. If you want to become a monthly contributor, every month I'll take some money from you, give most of it to us. It's a minimum of $1. Mm-hmm. So right now we have 121 patrons over at patreon.com. I want to thank each and every one of you.
Yes, so once again, that is patreon.com/AVRant podcast if you'd like to sign up for an automatic monthly donation. So big thanks to our 121 patrons over there. That's been holding very steady for the past while.
So we got notes of gratitude for keeping the podcast going through the things that are happening in the world, specifically in my country, and that we're inflicting upon everybody else. Eric, send another gratitude. Is it Hubert?
I think it's just Hubert.
Hubert?
Yeah,
I think Hubert. So. I think I'm going to go with Hubert. I think if my name was spelled Hubert, I would be like, it's Hubert. I mean, do
it could be
at some point. Yeah. So anyways, Hubert says he or she, I don't know, listened to the audio-only version of last week's episode, and it would obviously be nicer to see Lee's vacation photos than just hear us talking about them. Any chance we will be taking advantage of Apple Podcasts video podcast support? No, we took advantage of YouTube's.
Right. I mean, so this prompted me to take a little bit of a look into it, and so it would be possible on a technical level because you don't mind, Tom, me saying that we use Libsyn to host the actual files. Libsyn is fully capable of supporting the format that Apple Podcasts uses for video podcasts. So on a technical level, it's totally possible. The thing is, we don't pay for a ton of storage space over at Libsyn. There's like a rolling monthly limit, which works totally fine for our audio-only version, but we would instantly blast through that with a single video upload, given that, it's 2+ hour-long videos. And even if we heavily compressed it, we would blast through our storage limit over there. So we would have to pay extra in order to do do it. So like it is possible to be done on a technical level, but I have to say, Hubert, unlikely that we're going to pay the extra to host the additional storage space we'd require at Libsyn. And so we're still going to rely on YouTube. And look, I don't blame anybody who's like, I don't really love watching like long podcasts on YouTube because so many ad interruptions. I will just say, we don't have zero ads because we're utterly required to have some ads by YouTube. They don't let you post and have our address is youtube.com/AVRant. They don't let you do that simplified URL without showing a minimum number of ads, but there's just some ads at the very, very beginning before the podcast start and some ads at the very, very end after the podcast has ended. We don't have any ad interruptions because we are not attempting to make any money on YouTube. We are not monetizing this thing that way. We don't see a penny from the ads that YouTube runs. They just insist on having those ads so that it makes some financial sense for them to host our ridiculously long video podcast with no other commercial interruptions. So, once you get past the 30 seconds of ads at the very beginning, there are no further ad interruptions. Even if you skip around and use the timestamps to get to the part that you want to on YouTube, there will not be another ad inserted. So that is not a reason to be like, I want to avoid the YouTube thing. Like, just to let you know, we're not inserting ads. So I think it's okay to say, you want the video version? Just come to YouTube. It's that much easier.
Dan sent us another gratitude. He's a member of the original 2 Hour Plus Club.
That's right.
Mohsen, Guy, Luke, Greg, Jefferson, Jorge. Drew has listened every week for over a decade, but never written in. Nevertheless, our advice to everyone else has helped him put together a 9.2.6 system in his basement. He does intend to write us about it someday. Mm-hmm. And he enjoyed Lee's visit last week.
There you go. We had one.
Whatever. And Galen. Galen normally listens to the audio-only version, but Lee's slideshow of photos from Vancouver last week convinced him to watch the YouTube version, which he and his wife enjoyed since he'll be coming to British Columbia next month.
That's right.
Those are all bots. Any of those people who said they enjoyed it were bots, and you can't convince me otherwise. Rob's just talking to ChatGPT and putting the comments in here.
Those bots are getting pretty sophisticated and convincing if that's the case. But,
let me say their names again. Okay. Eric, Hubert, Dan, Mohsen, Guy, Luke, Greg, Jefferson, Jorge, Drew, and Galen. Thank you for thanking us.
And I'll say the names one more time since they came from my lips. And you can probably guess that some of those names were bundled along with entries for the Sofabaton U3 giveaway. That's why there's maybe a little bit more than usual. But we got Eric, Hubert, Dan, Mohsen, Guy, Luke, Greg, Jefferson, Jorge, Drew, and Galen. Thank you all so much for the notes of gratitude and encouragement. We really appreciate them. And a big, big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
Let's get to the news here. Fox Corporation.
Are we going to do what we watched? Because we skipped right over the what we watched section.
Oh, I thought we already did that.
We did not do that.
Oh, no. I skipped it. Sorry. I didn't watch anything. Maybe that's why I skipped it. I guess something's bothering me. Go ahead,
well,
Rob.
I will say at this point in the What We Watch section here, congratulations to the New York Knickerbockers on winning the NBA championship.
Is that really their name?
Yeah, that's what the Knicks stand for.
I had no idea that's what it stood for. I literally did not. I heard somebody say that, and I thought they were like, what did they say? Taking the whatever. That's what they say in England, right? Something like that. Anyway, I'm not going to say it on this podcast. Anyways, I thought they were trying to give the fans a hard time. I thought Knicks stood for something else.
No, that's the full name. But yeah, the New York Knicks, they won the NBA championship. Very exciting entire playoff run there. And I have to say, I haven't watched professional wrestling in any capacity in a long, long time, and I will continue to refuse to watch anything WWE as long as they continue to employ certain YouTubers who are terrible, terrible people and absolutely do not deserve to be employed by that company whatsoever. But there is the wrestler Danhausen, who is unavoidable if you're on any form of social media.
Don't know who that is.
He's been an indie guy for a long, long time. He's absolutely hilarious. Like he's a genuinely funny guy. He's very, very fast and witty. So anything that is unscripted, he's right on the ball, and he is very, very good about it. So his whole thing, as his character of Danhausen in wrestling, is that he puts curses on people. That's how he wins his matches. He will curse them.
I did hear about this guy. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a big New York Knicks fan, so he cursed their opponents throughout. Like just as what a fantastic tie-in for his character in wrestling because it absolutely worked out, including the like amazing comeback that the Knicks had in, what was it, game 3 or game 4? Yeah. They had like a crazy comeback in the final quarter of the game, and it was like, oh, it's the Danhausen curse that absolutely let that happen. So it worked out brilliantly for his character because he could say, see, my curses absolutely work. But yeah, aside from that, I'll say also congratulations to the Carolina Hurricanes who won the Stanley Cup. The NHL playoffs also wrapped up.
Don't you guys play hockey?
We sure do, except that
Are
the
you
Vancouver
guys any
Canucks,
good at it? Because I feel like every time I hear about the Stanley Cup, you guys aren't holding it.
Right. The Vancouver Canucks were literally the last place team in the NHL this year, and not by just a point or two. They were like 30 points behind everybody else. It was utterly ridiculous this season for Vancouver. But if you're talking Canadian teams, yeah, it's been a long, long drought since any Canadian NHL team has won the Stanley Cup. So, Montreal seems to be closest at this point. It seems like the Montreal Canadiens are closest to maybe hoisting the Stanley Cup at some point in the not too distant future. But for this year, congrats to the Carolina Hurricanes. They've been at the top of the league, not the very, very top, because there's a President's Trophy curse. Every team that actually comes in first in the regular season never wins the Stanley Cup. So we say there's a curse for winning the President's Trophy, which is what's handed out to the top team in the league at the end of the regular season. And it happened again this year. Colorado Avalanche were the top team in the league, and they didn't even make it to the final. They got knocked out before the final. But Carolina's been near the top of the league for multiple years in a row now. And they won the whole thing this year, so congrats to them. So outside of professional sports and all of the playoffs wrapping up, this week I watched one movie, which was Hoppers. Hoppers was in theaters not too long ago, the newest Disney Pixar movie. There's going to be Toy Story 5 coming out very shortly, or it might already be in theaters by the time you hear this. But Hoppers was the one that just preceded it. Written and directed by Daniel Chong, who is like mostly credited for the We Bare Bears series before this, so no other writing and directing credits, but he did work in other capacities behind the scenes on other Disney Pixar features before this, so kind of been promoted up through the system. And so the lead voice here is Piper Curda, and then also co-starring Bobby Moynihan and John Hamm. So I will just say, Hoppers felt like, so you know how Pixar movies, they kind of do have a feeling to them. Like you can, like, even if you weren't watching them, if you were just listening to them and following along with the narrative and the plot, you'd be like, yeah, that's a Pixar movie. Like, they just kind of have a tone and a feel to them. Hoppers felt different. I didn't recognize it as a Pixar movie. If I had no knowledge, I would have guessed that it was a DreamWorks movie. That's the type of feeling that it had to the story and the tone. It is a little bit madcap. It is a little bit zany and like kind of like very much feeling a little ADHD and a little bit like unhinged, I think is maybe a good term for this. The basic plot is that Piper Curda's main character, she's an environmentalist. They do throw in the classic Pixar thing of, some kind of older family relative who, yep, it's Pixar. That older relative has got to die. Pixar does not allow older relatives to remain alive in their movies. So I don't think I'm spoiling anything there. It is 100% their modus operandi. But yes, so they give it that a little bit of emotional heft to it, and they kind of revisit it throughout the movie a little bit, but it didn't have... Like, it almost felt a little bit forced this time, and that I've never really felt that way about a Pixar emotional heft before. Even when you can see it coming, it's always worked before. This one felt a little bit shoehorned in, I gotta say. So she's an environmentalist. She's trying to particularly protect this one little glade that's going to get paved over to make way for a highway. So yes, if you're wondering what sort of end of the political spectrum Hoppers falls on, it is not at all subtle in the direction that it's taking. But yeah, the whole thing is, she ends up inside her mind inside of the body of a little beaver character, and she can talk to the animals and try to get them to rally and save this glade. That's the overall plot that's going on. But it does get kind of wacky, and it does get kind of zany and madcap, absolutely. And things are going by very, very quickly. And again, I felt like like, I certainly laughed at this movie. I enjoyed this movie and had a fun time, but I did feel like some of the jokes were a little bit forced. Like, you know how one of the brilliant things about Pixar is so many of the laughs in Pixar movies are just like, it comes from the situation. It's not like they like tell you a joke, like a setup and punchline joke. It's just like, this is a really funny situation or a really funny visual. Hopper's is a bit more of the like, we are just going to force a joke right here. And it's not that the jokes are bad. It's just, again, it just feels a little bit different from other Pixar movies. So I wouldn't put this at the top of my Pixar rankings or anything like that. I did watch this on Disney Plus. It is now streaming on Disney Plus. So that is where I watched it. Now, it's Pixar animation, so yes, it looks fantastic. They spare no expense when it comes to the Pixar animation, but they definitely are stylized. And I did enjoy that when the humans are looking at all of the animals have little black beady eyes, and they just chitter and make little animal sounds. But when we're seeing it from her point of view inside of the beaver character body, then all of the animals have like human expressive eyes, and they're all speaking in English to our main character so we can understand them. So the characters have two very distinct looks, but they also give almost a slightly little bit of a cel-shaded look to some of it. So it's definitely stylized. Again, it like kind of reminded me more of a DreamWorks feature than it did of a Pixar feature. So some slight changes to tone and to visual style that were going on here. Sounds fantastic. Had really great dynamic range. If you're not applying any dynamic compression, there are big swings in volume here. So it's not a bad one to show off in your theater. I can't recall what the aspect ratio was offhand. I think it was coming pretty close to filling the full 69:9 aspect ratio, but I didn't particularly note it. It was not changing aspect ratios in any regard. So I give it a thumbs up, but not like the absolute pinnacle of thumbs up like some of the previous Pixar features. I don't think it's near the very top, but it's absolutely an enjoyable, fun time. And if you throw it on for the kids, I don't think you'll mind watching it along with them. That was Hoppers from Pixar.
Okay. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
My computer made a weird noise. All right. In the news, as I was trying to say earlier.
That's right.
Fox Corporation, which still runs Fox News, Fox Sports, and Fox Entertainment after Disney bought 20th Century Fox, has agreed to buy Roku for $22 billion.
Yeah.
Fox Corporation will take on $14 billion of new debt in order to finance the deal. I mean, that's like most of it. So it feels weird.
It's more than half. Yep.
Yeah, that's what most of it means.
That's
right. With Roku shares valued at $160 each, and is it spelled that way on purpose?
No, that was probably me accidentally putting in the caps lock at some point.
Okay, so and Roku shareholders getting a combination of cash and Fox Corporation stocks in exchange for the deal, for the sale. Fox Corporation, which also runs Tubi, is looking to hedge against traditional television broadcasts by expanding its reach into the streaming market by acquiring Roku. In terms of the sheer number of streaming viewers, the only combined Fox Corp and Roku would end up being third behind YouTube and Disney as far as what, just sheer numbers? Yeah,
just sheer number of streaming viewers, not necessarily hours, just sheer number of streaming viewers. They put in Tubi, and they've got some other streaming service over at Fox Corp right now. Roku and Tubi combined together will give them the third most streaming viewers. YouTube has by far the most streaming viewers, and then Disney as an entire conglomerate, all the various streaming things, because that includes Hulu, right? Hulu, and some other streaming services as well, because they have their own free ad-supported one that I can't remember the name of. Disney all combined is second.
All right. So the deal passes regulation. Fox Corp plans to increase advertising on the Roku platform and also prioritize, that's a shock, its own content when showing suggestions, but they insist that Roku will remain an open platform to all streaming services, as they fully intend to take a cut of all subscriptions that occur through the Roku interface, just as Roku does today.
Yeah.
Fox Corp will also acquire all of Roku's tracking data, which it sells to advertisers as the most lucrative portion of their overall business. They're looking for the sale to close as early in early 2027. Fox Corp stock price fell nearly 15% following the announcement, with investors fearful of stock dilution and the additional debt burden. Whatever. I have no idea. I mean, whatever. At this point, we're back to monopolies. It just feels like
aren't
it's all
we though?
monopolies.
Yes, there's certainly a lot of consolidation that is going on. I mean, yeah, I didn't know Roku was for sale. Apparently, IMAX is also up for sale as well, which is kind of wild. And we don't know who the buyer of IMAX is going to be at some point, or if that sale will even occur. But yeah, I didn't know Roku even was for sale, and it's kind of weird for like, you know, one of the major media companies, which is nowhere near as major as it used to be, because, you know, Fox Corporation at this point is way, way smaller than they used to be after selling 20th Century Fox, its television and movie studios, over to Disney several years ago. So, but still, one of the majors, yeah, buying up, like, because, I mean, Roku has the Roku channel. That's their free ad-supported streaming channel. But that's not, like, the major part of their business. And it was funny. I saw a pie chart of, like, Roku's revenue, where it all comes from. And, like, the sale of their hardware is, like, this, like, 6% little skinny piece of the pie. It's, like, 50% is, like, advertising and selling user data. And, like, the other, you know, 44% is just taking a cut when, you know, you use your Roku device to sign up for Netflix. You know, so Netflix gets most of that subscription price, but Roku gets a little cut if you made if you authorize the subscription through your Roku device rather than through some other device. And it's like, that's the other major percent. So yeah, they are not making any money on the hardware that they're selling, which you can kind of tell from the price. It's basically a loss leader, and it's pretty much all about the advertising and selling the user data. So that's really what Fox Corp is looking to acquire. That's how they're planning to make back their apparently $22 billion and $14 billion of new debt. That's, I don't know who's loaning them that money, but good on them.
I do feel like many of these deals seem to come with a trust me, bro, sort of guarantee on the end, where you're like, I know how numbers work, and I know these are big numbers, right? I understand that they're big numbers, and maybe I don't deal with numbers as big, but I can still add and subtract, and I can still multiply and figure out how many, how much do subscriptions cost, and how much money do you make from this and stuff. And at the end, I can look at it all and go, no, that doesn't add up. That doesn't add up. But yet, the tech bros are like, no, trust me, we're gonna make so much money. How? Oh, it just
valuing each of the Roku stocks at $160 a piece. Like, we are absolutely not going to get into the whole quagmire of talking about the SpaceX IPO, but SpaceX IPO, when it launched, was not at $160 per share, and you're like, Roku's more valuable than that? It's like, okay.
I don't understand it. I mean, I do understand it, but I also don't understand it. I don't understand how someone needs to make it make sense. But anyways, Wharfedale has introduced their new Elysian R Series of speakers with new looks and the updated Air Motion Transformer, or AMT, tweeter. All of the speaker models in the Wharfedale Elysian R Series use the same newly designed 27mm by a 90mm, which is about an inch by 3.5 inches, AMT, or again folded ribbon tweeter, and fiberglass, although they call it glass fiber matrix, mid-range and bass woofers. So they're textured, whatever. And this will cause all the audiophiles to say, oh well, there's some distortion, and it's the sound sounds wobbly or textured or bumpy or something, because they can look at the woofer
crunchy.
And see that it has
you know how fiberglass crunches? That crunchy woofers.
Crunchy, yeah, that's probably it. Anyways, they're all rated. They're all 4 ohm rated, but begin but with a benign 3.8 ohm minimum impedance, which means it doesn't really dip very low.
No, should be relatively easy to drive even for an AV receiver.
Yeah, an 89 to 91 dB sensitivity with around 109 dB max output. All models are available in gloss walnut, lunar gray, or matte black. Okay. They've done away with the piano black finish option for the series. On the walnut and gray finishes, the outrigger feet and other bits of trim around the drivers are all matte black. What about the other one? There's 3 of them. So whether
matte black is just matte black throughout. So
okay.
It's just
the cabinets use Wharfedale's multi-layer panel resonance optimization system, or PROS, using different woods of different thicknesses laminated together to supposedly reduce vibrations and resonances. I mean, I'm sure it does something. We say supposedly because, whatever.
Well, we don't have like objective measurements to prove that this is the case. It's just that is the claim being made.
It's like it's a claim that can't possibly be false. It does, in fact, do something to resonances and
we're
vibrations.
Not trying to cast doubt on it. You can absolutely reduce resonance in a material by having different densities and laminating it together with some sort of glue. That is definitely a way to damp vibrations. Yes.
Yeah. It also can create different vibrations and resonances that weren't there before. So, they don't just mention that part. So all the speaker models are ported with the center using dual rear ports. Wow, that's brave. But all of the other models using Wharfedale's slot-loaded profile port, or SLPP. They love their acronyms over there.
They do, yes.
Design, which basically is a bottom-firing port with a fixed base for a short distance below to create slots on the bottom of all four sides. So the models also have dual binding posts for bi-wiring, because why wouldn't they?
Of course they do.
Let me look at this.
All right.
Those are weird.
Yep. I mean, there's some pretty big boxes. They have curves to them. The front edges are curved, so it should help a little bit with edge diffraction.
But maybe slightly.
I mean, there's curved sides, so the very rear will be tapered and thinner than the very front. But it's curved side, radiused edges. But they're still big boxes. There's no mistaking that these are speakers.
Well, I like this sort of built-in platform for the port that they have. Yeah. I understand why they didn't do it on the center. I question why they have. I mean, that's the dual ports in the back makes placement a little bit more difficult than what people would normally want. I don't hate that gray, by the way. I think that gray looks pretty tight.
I mean, honestly, out of all of these, I'd probably go for the walnut. I mean,
I would too.
That's the classic Wharfedale thing, and I think that one looks the best. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, the gray is kind of cool.
Yeah, these do strike me kind of as audiophile-esque. They have that kind of look to
when you
them.
See the prices, you'll be like, "Yup."
Oh, have we not gotten there yet?
We haven't got to the prices yet.
Oh, okay. And let me scroll back down. The smallest model is Elysian R bookshelf price. Okay, there it is. $6,000 a pair. Yeah. It's a two-way design with the AMT tweeter and a 7-inch woofer weighing 33 pounds each. It's meant to go on a stand, and probably a very specific stand just for it. And Wharfedale has their own Elysian R stand selling at, well, there it is, $750 a pair. So you're now at $7,000 with tax and shipping and everything for a pair of these things.
That's right. And, I'm not going to say that these are like looking to be output champions. 89 dB sensitivity, which is very, very standard. That's with a 4 ohm nominal impedance. So if we were talking with an 8 ohm nominal impedance, you're down to 86 dB sensitivity, which is nothing unusual whatsoever. And then the power handling isn't like crazy, crazy high. So from about a meter away, these are putting out 109, 110 dB, something like that from a meter away. So yeah, it's like, you're not going to be much more than, 2 to 3 meters away, at least from the bookshelf model, which is a very typical listening distance for a bookshelf speaker. So yeah, you've got a
big though.
It's a 7-inch woofer, so it's this is kind of a little bit misleading just looking in the images because they look kind of stout and wide. A 7-inch woofer is ever so slightly wider than the very typical 6.5 inch that you'd find, but not drastically so by any means. These just have a little bit of extra baffle to the sides than some of the somewhat slimmer speakers that we'd see. But yeah, these are not gigantic. 33 pounds means they're fairly dense for the size that they are.
That's because of all the lamination.
Yeah,
clearly. The 2R stand mounts monitor is priced at $8,500 a pair. It's a 3-way design with the AMT tweeter, a dedicated 6-inch mid-range driver, and an 8.5-inch bass woofer weighing in at 67 pounds per speaker. This is definitely meant to go along with Wharfedale's matching Elysian 2R stands, which are shorter than the 1R stands because of the tweeter height, but cost more at $1,000 a pair.
I guess to hold the extra weight, these are twice as heavy as the 1R. The 2R monitors are twice as heavy, so I guess the stand has to be that much stronger. Even though it's shorter and there's less material, they got to cost more.
The Elysia 3R compact floor standing speaker is priced at $10,000 a pair, but it doesn't need a separate stand, so you're saving. It's basically giving it away. It's a 3-way design.
The 2R stand mount monitor, right? That's $8,500 plus $1,000 a pair for the stand, so you're at $9,500 for the pair if you're getting the matching stand. So the compact 3R is $10,000, only $500 more, and you don't have to buy a separate stand. It comes with its outrigger feet.
What did I do here? It's 10,000 but it doesn't need a separate stand. It's a 3-way design with AMT tweeter and the 6-inch dedicated mid-range driver and 2 7-inch bass woofers, and somehow weighing in only at 63 pounds each, which is, for whatever reason, less than the 2R. So... whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, do the 8.5-inch woofers weigh that much more than the 7-inch woofers, or is there something going on with the cabinets between the bookshelf and the 3R, the 1R and the 3R? I think those cabinets are maybe not quite as thick and heavy as the 2R, and as you'll see, the remaining models in the lineup.
Yeah, that's weird. The Elysia 4R floor standing speaker is the flagship model, priced at $12,000 a pair. And no surprises here. It's a 3-way design using the same tweeter, the 6-inch dedicated mid-range, and 2 of the 8.5-inch bass woofers weighing in 109 pounds each.
It's a big old jump in weight there. And again, it's like that's not all attributed.
I wonder if there's a misprint in that.
Nope.
You're sure?
I am very sure. The 1R and the 3R are definitely cutting weight somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not saying from you. I'm saying from them that they're...
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that's truthful.
And then finally, there's the center, the CR center, priced at $6,000 each. The matching Elysian CR stand goes for $1,000 on its own. It gets the same complement of drivers as the flagship 4R tower with 2 of the larger 8.5-inch bass woofer, but it only weighs 67 pounds. So apparently all of the extra weight is not just in the 8.5-inch versus the 7-inch woofers. They're available now through dealers. You have to book a demo in order to audition and purchase them. So let us know how it works out for you, because we're not going to do it.
I do have a shot of the rear ports. They are just circular, maybe ever so slightly flared, but they look kind of small. They look kind of puny on the back of that.
What is that?
Center.
How is that not going to whistle in some way? I feel like it's too small.
Someone is definitely stuffing something into those and blocking up those ports. I would guarantee somebody's going to do that at some point.
A spider web might do it. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's just good-looking speakers. I'm not going to take that away from them. They're good-looking speakers. Whatever. In this,
I mean, the thing is, economy, these are very much in the same price bracket as like the. I don't know if I'm trying to remember Arundel, right? The prices that they had.
Right.
I think Arundel's flagship series is actually more expensive than these, so these might be competing with the like 1723 THX series speakers. So I mean, they're kind of in that ballpark, and they're kind of similar in that like they're not trying to defeat physics here, right? Like, these are some pretty big-sized cabinets. They're not trying to go for the smallest cabinets ever made. That's definitely, what's going on here. So, but I like the finish options. They've gone for the AMT tweeter now, so I think these might be worth checking out. If you're in this sort of price bracket and you really like the looks of these Wharfedale speakers, they might be worth an audition.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. I think they look good. There's no world in which I pay those prices, but I still wish that speakers of that size and price had more output capability. I'd like to see them be, good for beyond 4 meters type of thing, which the flagship towers are definitely okay at 4 meters or a bit farther, but like, I'd like to see some speakers that can handle like a 20-foot listing distance and be able to hit reference volume at that, if you're going to go for that size and price. Yeah. Sasi, I'm getting the questions here. Sasi has heard Rob make the claim that front wide speakers are possibly the pickiest speakers when it comes to precise placement and tone, and that they really need to go in the plus or minus 60-degree locations with them towed in to aim directly at the seats. Or you could do what I do, which is never do this. Never.
Like, just not have front wide speakers is what you mean.
Front wide speakers. That solves this problem indefinitely.
Let alone the worrying about the precise angles and the toe in. You're just like, if I don't have them, I'm not worrying about precise angles and toe in. But I have made that claim. Sasi is not incorrect.
Sasi has heard several setups with front wide speakers, and honestly, he has agreed. Mm-hmm. So when a friend of his said he was intending to add front wide speakers to his setup, but he was planning to use in-wall speakers and just have them flush mounted to his sidewall, Sasi tried to talk him out of it. Not to talk him out of front wides entirely, which is what I would do, but just the idea of flush mounting them onto the sidewall so that they would not be aimed at the audience at all. His friend is using all Revel Performa BE.
Standing for beryllium. It's the Performa BE series with the beryllium tweeters.
Yeah. He insisted that the wide, even dispersion of the in-wall W228BE model made it so that the flush mounting is not a problem. Sasi still wanted to convince him to angle the speaker, so he went looking for measurements that he could point to that would back up his opinion. Well, he found some of the measurements, but looking at them, maybe he's convinced himself the other way. So there's going to be a graphic, or you can go to the Flickr album and see this. It is I don't know what this is. This looks like it's multiple measurements off axis, right?
Yeah, this isn't raw frequency response. This is multiple measurements taken at different off-axis angles, with the top orange trace being the on-axis. But this is a normalized frequency response. So you'll see that, like, everywhere below 1,000 hertz is a ruler flat line. That is not the actual frequency response you would measure. This is normalized. So what we're comparing is just the difference in off-axis frequency response above 1,000 hertz. That's really all we're comparing here.
Mm-hmm. So, looking at first of all, Sasi, don't ever try to convince people not to do things that is bad for them, because that's not what they're at. They're not interested in hearing you, no matter how right you are. Okay, just do what I do and nod and say, "Oh, really? Cool," and then walk away, because that's all they really want.
I'll also interject a little bit here of, like, what processor or AV receiver is your friend using? Because there are a whole lot of them out there where the only time those front wides are ever going to make a peep is actual Dolby Atmos content. This is still the case where there are lots of AV receivers and pre-pros that will never put any sounds into those when using the Dolby Surround Up mixer, and they won't put any sounds in there when using Oro, because Oro doesn't support front wides, and they might or might not put any sounds in there with DTS-X, because I've seen some where, like, even when the AV receiver or pre-pro supports 15 channels, they still use DTS-X and not DTS-X Pro. So if it's stuck in DTS-X and Neural X, not Neural X Pro, they aren't putting any sound in the front wide. So it's like, I don't even know what receiver or pre-pro they're using. There's every possibility that the vast majority of those times, those front wide speakers aren't ever making a peep, and therefore the off-axis response really won't matter.
Yeah. Again, just none of this makes any difference. They have money to spend and they want to spend it. I know we're going to go off track here for a second. I apologize. Okay. So in the bicycle world, people spend a lot of money on bikes, right? Yes. They spend a lot of money on their bike, and then they spend a lot of money on their kit, which is the stupid clothes they wear so people don't think they're homeless. They think they're just stupid.
And the footwear. They spend a lot on the footwear.
The helmets. The helmets are ridiculous. I bought a $170 helmet the other day, and my wife's like, it was $170? I was like, yeah, I got it for cheap. And she looked at me like, what? I'm like, yeah. The other one I was looking at was $350. It was like I took a big jump down in price to get this one, even though the other one was technically safe or whatever. They love to spend money on things. Okay? And they consume content. GCN is the big social, the big network, the big thing that everybody looks at to see what the new trends are coming and that sort of thing. They watch us. It's called the GCN, Global Cycling Network, or as I like to call it, the FOMO Network, because all they do is change what their recommendations are constantly, so that you fear like you're not getting everything that you need, and therefore you have to go spend a bunch of money. And this happens constantly with them. So I have people coming in and constantly telling me things about cycling, because they desperately want to spend money on their sport, because it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
Right? It makes them feel faster. It gives them something to talk about, and they
also just belong, right? They belong to the crowd.
Yeah, and now they're doing the latest thing, and that makes them cooler than everybody else. Okay, so this person wants to buy front wides because nobody that they know, other than maybe you, Sasi, doesn't even know what a front wide is. They don't know what front wides are, so having them on top of that is like super elite. So this is what's going on here. Doesn't matter that they have a receiver that will never put any sound into it. Doesn't matter that it won't sound good in the placement they have. They've bought the wrong speakers, that they're not placing them correctly. None of that makes any difference. They can just point at those things and say, look, I'm better than you. I'm better than you. Look how much better I am than you. I waxed my chain on my bike. Yeah, that's dumb. Don't do it. But, but it's so much faster. That's what GCN said. GCN's full of a bunch of shills. Shut up. Same thing here. That's what's going on. Anyways, so after looking at this graph of this differences in the off-axis response, looking at a normalized versus off-axis response graph, these particular in-wall Revel speakers really do seem to have very uniform off-axis response all the way out to 45 degrees. The primary seat will be 30 degrees off-axis if these speakers are flush-mounted into the side walls. That is the plan. And compared to the on-axis response, other than above about 15 kilohertz, there's essentially no difference. His friend's room is well treated, so any other off-axis reflections will be absorbed. No, they won't. Not 100%. So does this mean that his friend is right and that Sasi and Rob are wrong in this case? I would love to tell you that Rob is wrong. It's probably one of my favorite things to say. Outside of who, whenever that guy's name is mentioned.
That's right. Turns out Tom likes a running gag as well.
I do, as much as you do. Yes, I do. And I will tell you that Rob is not wrong. Not all reflections are absorbed. These are very finicky types of speakers. And in the end, it doesn't matter because that's not why the speakers are being bought. Yeah. But that being said, if he wanted to get good performance and he's trying to make the argument that these will be fine because our off-axis response is just is even enough.
Sure.
I would argue that it is still not the case and that that these speakers will not sound as good as they could or they would not be as effective. But since they'll barely ever be playing any content, it's not going to matter anyways.
Very possibly. Yeah. I mean, the big question to me is, are there any other seats in your friend's theater? Because, yes, the primary seat will be 30 degrees off axis, but the seats to the left and the right will be considerably more off axis to the front wide speaker that is closest to the seat that is to the left or the right of the primary seat, and you start getting into where the off-axis response is not quite so even, beyond the 30-degree mark. So, yeah, this might be perfectly fine for the primary seat, and maybe that's the only seat that your friend cares about. But yeah, I care about a 3-seater couch at the minimum, and once you do that, you kind of end up having to angle the speakers in order for all of the seats of the 3-seater couch to be within the cone of dispersion of all of the speakers in the setup. So yeah, I don't think that has changed at all. Now, what I will say is, because these particular Revel in-wall speakers do have nice, wide, even dispersion, it could be worse. There are definitely speakers where the off-axis dispersion is way more pronouncedly different than the on-axis response, even as soon as you get 15 degrees off-axis, and therefore to remain within the cone of dispersion, even for the primary seat, you would need to tow in and angle many other speakers, not so much the case with these particular Revel W228BE speakers. These are a better case scenario, where doing exactly what your friend wants to do for the primary seat is not going to be the end of the world. So yeah, I don't think you need to fight your friend on this. I think they're going to be okay. They're going to get what they want to do. It sounds like they've already made their mind up anyway. And yeah, it's not the end of the world if they do it for the main seat. These particular speakers are not the worst case scenario. But I still don't think that means that I am utterly wrong in my broadly general advice to most people that if you are going to install front wide speakers, you want to do it at the correct angles and with them towed in so that the cone of dispersion covers all of your seats. I don't think that has changed at all.
Okay. Secondly, Sasi has heard Rob recommend the Dynamat Dynabox as a good retrofit option for people planning to install in-ceiling speakers. But we've also known that they're a little pricey now, $150 a pop.
Yeah.
So what about these XTC foam back cans available at Parts Express at a mere $16 a pair? Could they do the trick for way less money? I mean, they are foam. They're not encapsulating the air behind the speaker and keeping all, trying to isolate or keep the sound from escaping. Right. It's just trying to keep because these are for cars.
These are absolutely for car installations.
And they're just trying to keep, as much sound as it possibly can from like vibrating or escaping behind.
It's really about just having an enclosure on the rear of the installed speaker so that wires, insulation, other little bits are not accidentally falling into the back of the driver and getting attached to a magnet.
There's a magnet in there. So
yes.
There's trying to keep things from grabbing onto the magnet or whatever.
And so obviously you can see just by looking clearly much less internal volume on this little foam rear enclosure.
Because it might be going to the door of a car. They're not looking for a lot of room.
Yeah. The rear enclosure, like the actual volume of air inside of the Dynabox is like it's still smaller than what is recommended. A lot of in-wall speakers are recommending like 2 cubic feet or at least 1 cubic foot. And it's a little bit less than that in the Dynabox. It's a little bit less than 1 cubic foot volume of air that's in there because they don't have quite that much depth. But still, there's very obviously more internal air than these little foam rear enclosures. Now, I mean, I don't have any beef with using these little foam rear enclosures if you're in a situation where, you just need to keep the insulation from touching the back of your speakers or something like that. It'll do the trick for that. But I don't think you're going to see much in the way of performance games. I don't doubt that this would prevent a little bit of sound from the rear surface of the open back of the in-ceiling speaker. It's going to encapsulate some of that sound and reduce the sound transmission a little bit, but not as much as the, actually meant for soundproofing of the Dynabox. So yeah, all of it is certainly
you get what you pay for in this situation, really.
It's certainly a downgrade. But the other thing that I would say is I don't know how fire rated these are. They might pass fire code if you're using these, say, on an in-ceiling speaker where above it is an attic, and fire code says that you have to have a rear enclosure on those in-ceiling speakers.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
I just don't know. It's possible that these are sufficient as a fire break, but they might not be. Whereas the Dynaboxes do count as a fire break as well. So that one was just something you have to kind of go to City Hall and find out if it works as far as your local building fire codes go to be sufficient for that. So I wouldn't say that these are a 1-for-1 replacement at 1/10 the price type of thing. I don't think it's as simple as that. But I'm not saying that there's never going to be an application for them. They could absolutely make sense in some scenarios.
Gurinder is the only person in his household who ever notices, which is a surprise. But every once in a while, he'll hear what sounds like a little bit of static noise coming from his front right speaker. We've tried to help him troubleshoot in the past, and it seems that the pre-out from his Marantz SR6012 is the issue. He's using an external amp. So he's been considering switching over to a Denon X3800H with the X3900H just announced. He's been keeping an eye out for clearance sales of the 3800, but no such luck yet. He missed the SR6012's front HDMI input, which he finds convenient, but are there other obvious improvements with a 7.2.4 configuration that would let him feel good about justifying the 3800H purchase?
He's looking for an excuse, Tom.
So, yeah, I understand that. Did we say that he should stop using the external amp and see if that fixes the problem? Did we say that?
Oh, I'm sure we suggested testing that at one point. Yeah, no, he's gone through a number of troubleshooting steps, and just change the speakers, change the wires, change the amplifiers, and it's like it always stays in that front right, and it's intermittent, but every once in a while, whatever is attached to the front right pre-out of that Marantz makes a little static noise. So yeah, he's kind of saying, can I justify buying myself an X3800H? So headed over to ZK Electronics because they do a very good job of actually accurately cataloging what the differences are of receiver models from year to year. So yeah, got their chart there. So I mean, hey, I don't know if you have a tactile transducer, but the X3800H has that dedicated option to take one of its 4 subwoofer pre-outs. Your Marantz SR6012 it's so old that it only had 2, Gurinder. The X3800H had 4 subwoofer pre-outs, and one of them you can dedicate to being a tactile transducer where it is not applying the subwoofer EQ that all of the other subwoofer pre-outs are getting it, so you don't have to undo the subwoofer EQ with a mini DSP for your tactile transducer. Hey, there's a difference. Also, Oro 3D, man, your Marantz didn't have Oro 3D. My goodness, you've been missing
out. What will you do? How did you survive?
The option to pay a whole bunch extra and upgrade to Dirac if you want to over Odyssey Multi-Q XT32 that it comes with included in the price, including all the way up to Dirac Art, right? So the X3800H supports the entire suite of Dirac, not an option on your SR6012. The most obvious, the HDMI, right? The 3800H, all of its ports are HDMI 2.1 ports that support 4K 120 and VRR and all of those features. So if you're a gamer and you want the higher frame rates and the variable refresh rate, all that sort of thing, that's supported going through the X3800H and not on your SR6012. So, I mean, I'd say those are the major differences. If any of those are justification to you, those are the things I would point to. Also, the X3800H has the feature where one channel at a time you can say pre-out only on this channel, right? Your SR6012 had the option of pre-out mode where all of the internal amps were powered off completely and all you had were the pre-outs active, but I believe that Gurinder's setup is a mixture of some of the speakers are powered by the built-in amplifiers of the receiver and some are clearly powered by an external amplifier. The 3800H lets you individually turn off the built-in amplifiers one channel at a time if you want to, and there are audiophiles who claim that, oh boy, does that clean up the signal. You know, I know that I did it, so clearly I heard the difference. We're not going to make any such claims, but if it makes you feel better, you can be like, my front, left, center, and right, the built-in amps are not on whatsoever, just polluting that pre-out signal the way audiophiles say that they will.
I love how they have the lower FM harmonic distortion, and it's exactly the same for both of them. Yeah. It's just crazy. The things on here that like I would erroneously think were important are like the Bluetooth version. I'm like 4.2 is way better than 3.0, right? 8K inputs. You know, there's 6 versus 0, I guess.
Sure. Even though the SR6012 actually has more HDMI inputs than the 3800H does, it's just that they're all 2.0, not 2.1.
The newer HDCP version, I'm like, okay, I would look at that and go, maybe that's important someday. I would look at the DRAC and go, okay, well, yeah, that would be nice to have the option of that. I would absolutely never, ever take advantage of. Never.
I gotta say, years. Like if you are using multiple subs, DRAC Live bass control is not nothing. It really is a genuine thing that is different from what Odyssey does in terms of multiple subwoofer handling. And DRAC Live art, it's like, okay, you know, that's something, but you'd have to pay extra.
How is the DACs worse though?
I mean, they're not worse. They're just different. I really don't care about sampling rates above 48 kilohertz.
Well, one is 7. The Marantz is 768 kilohertz, 32-bit, and then the Denon is 384 kilobits, 32-bit. Kilohertz to 32-bit, and you look at that, you're like, that's a big difference. Oh, one of those is way better, and you're like, just throw numbers at the wall. The only thing that on this whole chart that I think will make a difference in your life is the subwoofers, and that's it.
It could be.
Everything else,
I think the HDMI could legitimately make a difference.
Eventually, yes. But let's be honest, he's going to upgrade before that becomes a problem. Glenn is hoping to help his in-laws.
Mm-hmm.
Just give them exactly what they say they want. Don't try to convince them of anything.
In this case, yeah.
They would like to get 2 pairs of wireless headphones that will help them hear dialogue more clearly while watching TV. Their TV is a 75-inch Sony X900F, and back in 2020, they already bought 2 pairs of AVRant AS9 Bluetooth headphones with aptX low latency. But now, 6 years later, they're hoping to buy something with a little bit better sound quality and more reliable wireless connection. For some reason, they've often had connection issues when using these AVRant headphones. His mother-in-law would like to spend around $150 and make this a Father's Day gift, but Glenn is willing to chip in some extra money if it is needed and worth it. So what would be a recommendation? So we are getting closer and closer to finally this not being as much of an issue. I don't know how much longer it's going to take, but I have started seeing TVs where they're having like dual Bluetooth wireless connection things
from the TV itself.
From the TV itself. So as I know that this is not the solution to your problem here, but this is becoming so commonplace. I mean, even in my, I say even, but my parents' house, they have they're constantly battling with the sound. And we just had a question a couple of weeks ago where somebody was like, my dad can't hear or whatever it was, right? Wants to hear the vocals better, but doesn't want to spend any money on it. Like, okay, well, eventually what will happen is you'll buy a new TV and you'll just be able to connect multiple Bluetooth devices to it. But for now, what's your solution, Rob?
Yeah, so, I took everything on board that he was saying, and I said, okay, I'm going to look for what should be the most stable and reliable of the wireless connections, which does mean in this case, it's going to have its own little box, right? So we're not relying on the Bluetooth output of the Sony TV itself. You are going to connect, honestly, just an optical connection. The X900F from Sony definitely has an optical output. We are only worrying about stereo output sound, and so you're just going to use an optical connection to this little dedicated box. So what I was looking for was aptX, obviously, Bluetooth aptX. Bluetooth aptX, low latency is certainly nice to have, but specifically the ones that use the Snapdragon processors to handle it all, because those have the processing power where it's very, very rare that you drop a connection with those. I'm not going to say it's utterly impossible, because any wireless connection could potentially have some interference or a drop connection, but you're probably going to be best off with that Snapdragon processor handling the Bluetooth aptX low latency connection with a dedicated transmission box to the headphones. And I definitely wanted to make sure they could handle two headphones connected to the same transmission box, which is pretty common, but I wanted to make sure that was the case. So I did find from the company Me Audio, they have all of the features that I just talked about with their Connect T1C MA wireless headphone system. This comes with one pair of the Snapdragon-powered aptX low-latency Bluetooth headphones and the little dedicated transmitter box that lets you plug in, whether it's analog connection or optical connection. It's got support for that, and it definitely supports dual headphone streaming. It is prominently displayed on their website that two of them can be connected, but you will need to separately purchase another pair of the Matrix Cinema MEE headphones. So the regular price for just the one pair of headphones with the transmission box is $170. You can get those for $150 on Amazon. So maybe your mother-in-law covers the price for that, and you cover the price for the additional pair of Cinema Matrix headphones that would go along with it. So yeah, you've got the connectivity of the little box. Very, very simple for that. It comes with all the cables you need, so you don't even need to buy a separate optical cable. It comes with one in the box. And then you were talking about how this is mainly for dialogue clarity, and so the AVRant are not bad headphones, but they're not the best in the world. These ME headphones come specifically with like vocal enhancement modes, and by all accounts, they genuinely work. Like, people are like, yep, you can absolutely hear the difference, where vocals are prominently standing out from all of the other sounds when you use. They've got a clear voice mode and then a clear voice plus mode that basically does nothing but enhance the consonant sounds and the vocal range in the equalization that applies. They brand that as Cinema Ear. But yeah, if you're buying another pair of the Matrix Cinema headphones to go along with it, those are $120. So you might be looking at chipping in $120 while your mother-in-law pays $150 for the original kit. So they're not the cheapest in the world, but it has all of the higher end aptX low latency and Snapdragon powered features that I would be looking for, and supports all the things that you wanted. MEE doesn't stop there. If you were like, they really do want active noise canceling, which wasn't mentioned, then they do have a more expensive one, the Matrix Cinema 3D, but it's quite a jump in price. We're talking $260 for the one pair of headphones and the dedicated transmission box, and then another $200 for the second pair of headphones to add on to that. So these do have active noise canceling in them. They also have MEE's own version of spatial audio, meaning that it seems as though the sound is always locked to coming from the television's location, and as you turn your head, like if you turn your head to the right, then all of the sound is going to be coming out of the left ear cup, as if the sound were locked to the television. So that's the other feature that you get for that added price, but it's mainly about the active noise cancellation. I know, yeah, not a giant fan of that anyway. So I think the original one is what you're looking for, but I wanted to mention, in case you really, really wanted active noise canceling, it is available, but it costs more.
All right. Nick has a 77-inch OLED, and he loves the picture quality, but even at his seating distance of just 7 feet away, he's finding he'd prefer to have a larger image. For him, the current height of the image feels great, but when there are black bars at the top and bottom for CinemaScope movies, he's finding himself wishing that the height of the image would have remained the same as a 16:9 content, while simply getting wider to take up more of his field of view. Okay, you want a transformer of a TV. So he did the math, and a 97-inch screen size would give him what he's looking for.
From
but sadly,
7 feet away, I'm like, that's
big.
That's a big image.
But sadly, prices for 97-inch OLEDs haven't really come down at all over the past several years, and they remain out of reach for him and just about everybody else. So he's looking at the affordable, meaning under $5,000 in his case, 98-inch LCD TVs, and while they're impressive, they don't require match the picture.
There's no
and they don't quite.
there.
Sorry, I don't know where that read came from.
They
don't quite match the picture quality of an OLED. Large patches of black can get inky black thanks to local dimming, but there can occasionally be some visible blooming, which never happens on this OLED, and the pixel-to-pixel contrast just isn't as high. Also, off-axis viewing remains noticeably better on an OLED. Why are we reading all this? We know this. But he just can't quite bring himself to accept a downgrade in performance in order to afford the 98-inch screen size. So, what he wants is OLED performance at LCD prices. Is what he's asking for.
That would sum it up. Yep.
Yeah. So he's been hearing about LG Display building a new, larger OLED factory for what feels like 10 years now, but it seems to perpetually be 5 years away from opening. Is it ever going to happen? Why would we know? Is it ever going to happen?
I got a little bit of news on this.
Will it result in significantly lower prices on the 97-inch OLED models? Under $5,000 would be terrific, but you can see his way to about $10,000 if that becomes a new MSRP, with sale prices bringing it down from there. Eventually we will have large OLEDs. That's just, I think that's a larger OLEDs than we already have. We already have 83s, right? 83s is the biggest, really affordable one.
I mean, there are the 97s, but they are prohibitively expensive. The MSRP on those has perpetually been up around $25,000, sometimes $20,000 in years past. And if you're looking right now, you can find the previous year's model 97-inch size at around $17,000, $18,000, but we're still definitely nowhere close to even $10,000, let alone $5,000. We're far away from that. And
what doesn't cost $5,000 or $10,000 is a mount that lets you pull the TV closer to you.
Like an articulating wall mount, right?
I don't care if it's on a piece of furniture. You could put casters on that thing and just roll the whole thing forward. It doesn't cost nearly this much. You could literally have somebody come to your house and install whatever you want.
So
that your TV can move closer to your seat.
I thought you were going to say you could have someone come to your house and move the TV for you. You could rent a TaskRabbit for several years for less than $10,000.
Yeah. So the solution to this problem. And I know I sound flippant. I'm not being flippant. I'm being absolutely dead honest. If you really want the screen size to be this big, for the amount of money difference, the delta between the cost of the TV you currently have and getting the TV you want is so great that there's almost no solution that involves moving the thing closer to you or your chair closer to it.
I mean, he's already at 7 feet, so it does start to feel a little bit strange.
Hey, my man, it's going to feel strange when you're at 97 inches and 7 feet away.
Quite
That's
possibly.
Massive. Not only that, I know what's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen. He's not going to have a 16:9 small image in the middle of this thing.
Yes, I did want to comment on that.
Because that's what you would have to have. You would have to have your 16:9 be smaller than the screen size. There'd be black bars all the way around the thing.
Black bars on all four sides. That bring it back down to the equivalent of a 77-inch size that you already enjoy for 16:9.
You're not going to do that.
Content.
You're going to instead fill the whole screen, and then you're going to be right back to where you are right now, which is
in the reverse. It's 16:9 is going to be like, that is so large, I am having to move my head and neck around to take in the image. Yeah, that could be a little bit iffy is my worry about that. So regarding that larger OLED factory, it is an 8.6 generation OLED factory that LG Display has been talking about for, I agree, it's been like 5 to 10 years. That thing is supposed to open at the end of this year. It's supposed to come online at the end of 2026. We shall see, but I mean, that is like news. That has not been the case in the past. It is supposed to actually open at the end of 2026. Now, the thing is, most of the talk is in using those tremendously large mother glass pieces that it's going to be fabricating to simply fabricate oodles and oodles of small screens. And I'm not talking 55-inch as small. I'm talking like tablet and phone size screens. The whole idea is that they can, cut oodles and oodles and oodles of them from the large mother glass and really bring the price down on phone and tablet size screens. Apparently, that's like the number one priority here. Because the large mother glass of the 8.6 generation, you could cut 2 of the 98-inch screen sizes from that piece of mother glass rather than right now having to dedicate one piece of the, I think they're at 7G or something like that is their current plants. You can only cut one 97-inch out of the current mother glass, which is why they have remained so expensive. There's no economy of scale there. You want to make a 97-inch OLED, you're getting 1 per piece of mother glass. With the new 8.6G plant, they will be able to cut 2. But there hasn't been much talk about using that new plant for televisions whatsoever. They're just like, now we can dedicate our older plants, the smaller mother glass, to cutting all the TV OLED sizes and produce oodles and oodles of the phone and tablet size from the new 8.6G plant at a much lower price. That apparently is the way that this thing is going to be used. So All of that is to say, I wouldn't hold my breath for drastically less expensive 97-inch OLEDs. I mean, maybe, if they decide, hey, we really can cut 2 of them from each piece of mother glass and bring the price down, and there's clearly movement towards, larger than 85-inch screen sizes, maybe they'll decide to do that. But I wouldn't be holding my breath for it. So all of that put together, I'd be what about the consideration of going to an 83-inch OLED? Because you can get last year's flagship, you can get the G5 for $5,000 in the 83-inch size. And I'm not going to say that the G6 is some kind of tremendous upgrade. It's a slight downgrade in some ways, and then a slight upgrade in others, but the G5 is no slouch, and you can get that for the price you're looking for at the 83-inch size. And now it's you're kind of splitting the difference, right? Because now you're 16:9. This is without putting it on an articulating mount and doing any movement whatsoever. Your 16:9 got a bit bigger, maybe a bit too big, but your CinemaScope also got bigger, which is what you wanted. Not quite as big as you were thinking, but it's you're splitting the difference. That might be the way to get everything that you want here.
So he got a bit excited about all the latest RGB mini LED hype. He was hoping that maybe it would bring LCD TV performance close enough to OLED they'd be able to afford a 98-inch RGB TV without feeling like he was giving up too much performance. But you saw Vincent Teo's video demonstration how you could see the skin tone of someone standing in front of a colored background shift as the background color changed, with the RGB backlighting bleeding into the color of the person's skin and clothing.
Yep.
So out of all the RGB options, Sony's true RGB models appeared to perform the best when it comes to color accuracy, but they're only releasing a 98-inch model in their step-down Bravia 7 II series and not their flagship Bravia 9 II series. So what do we think? Can RGB be a viable OLED successor, or will the black lack of blooming, pixel-to-pixel contrast, and off-axis viewing remain a downgrade when compared to OLED? Yes, the last one. It will always be, I think. I don't think LCD can ever really be as good as OLED, simply because if it was, it would be OLED, and then you would just buy an OLED. I didn't see the Vincent Teo thing that you guys are talking about.
You can imagine exactly what he was showing.
I can imagine how close you had to be to see it too.
Maybe, but
to a certain extent. And I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and I understand the idea of, I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on something that isn't the best or isn't up to whatever standards I have been told is the best. At the same time, I wonder how much of this you're actually going to be noticing, how much you're going to actually be seeing, how often this is going to be an actual problem for you when it comes to some of these performance issues that are undoubtedly there. We can see them, we can record them, we can measure them. They're definitely there. But in the end, if size is really the most important thing to you, or you're not willing to spend how much money it costs to have somebody install a motorized mount that you can press a button and it'll come closer to you. I'm just saying. I'm getting. Mount. I think for $5,000, you could definitely do that, right? Yeah. I think you could press the button and the thing would come closer to you whenever you turned on the CinemaScope movie. Yeah.
Or maybe you get an 83-inch C5 and a motorized articulating mount, an 83-inch C5 and an articulating mount for under $5,000, because you can do that. And it's maybe that's the solution here, rather than worrying about getting all the way to 98 inches or 97 inches. I'm going to say, for me, completely personally, I'm not that hyped about these RGB backlit TVs. They seem to me entirely to be an excuse to charge OLED prices for an LCD TV. LCD manufacturers needed something new that they could market so that they could charge the higher end prices, because so the 98-inch RGBs are less expensive than the 97-inch OLEDs, but they're up around $10,000. They're not cheap. They're not the $5,000 98-inch LCDs, the new RGB ones. But if you're looking at the 65, 75, 85-inch prices, they're every bit as expensive as the OLEDs, certainly the C series, if not the G series, if you're comparing them to LG's OLED series. They're right up there in prices, and that seems to me like the entire motivation for this whole RGB marketing push, because I don't think the performance is that much better at all. And it introduces some new issues, some new problems. I think TCL, even though TCL is releasing their own RGB TV just to keep up with the Joneses, they're like, our quantum dot LCDs are still our flagships as far as TCL is concerned. They're just doing RGB because everyone else is doing it, and because they bought Sony, and Sony is all in on true RGB. So it's like, I don't think it's a successor to OLED whatsoever. And I'll just say, I think an 83-inch OLED is the right solution. Get an articulating mount, and I think he'll be pleased as punch.
Eric came across an article from Tech Radar with a report from the high-end show. I've been to the high-end show before, not in Vienna, but that's where this one was. In Vienna, They were excited about a new base driver from the company GSS called Model S1. It's a racetrack-shaped driver. Roughly 1 foot long and 2.5 feet tall, but it has a very interesting...
2.5 inches tall.
2.5 inches, sorry. 1 foot long. I don't know what long is.
Like wide. From side to side, 1 foot.
And 2.5 inches tall, but it has a very interesting surface shape with lots of ridges and bumps that GSS claims give it much greater surface area and rigidity. So it can move a total of 34 millimeters, 17 millimeters in and 17 millimeters out from its neutral position without any significant distortion, and the shape gives it more surface area, allowing it to displace more air than you would expect from such a physically small driver. First seen in soundbars, by the way, is where we saw a lot of these things.
Sure.
These kind of oblong ones. So,
absolutely.
Whatever.
But I will say that they've, added these extra ridges and bumps and stuff. So unquestionably, there is more surface area here. That is undeniable.
Tech Radar, the Tech Radar headline, much like everything that GCN, the Global Cycling FOMO Network, puts out, called it a game changer. Oh, I'm sorry,
not just
a total game changer.
That's right, a total game changer.
I've seen drivers that look like this before. They did not invent this. I've seen drivers that look like this, that are like kind of folded up, all stupid.
Sure.
Anyways, the GSS and GSS was showing prototypes with the S1 drivers mounted in a very compact dual-opposed enclosure within a soundbar form factor, or used as side-firing bass woofers in a slim on-wall speaker.
With the biggest baffle you ever done seen.
Yeah.
Nobody is mounting that speaker on their wall.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Anyways, this is the perfect example of, to me, of them, of a company, not them, a company trying to take something that already exists, sort of, and then repackage it in such a way as to make it seem cool so that people will start buying it. I'll give you an example. Again,
I'm going to say they might have enhanced it beyond.
No, I'm not going to say that they didn't do that. Okay. Yeah, they I'm sure they added their own little twist to it and did some things to it or whatever. But, it's got ridges in it, and now that makes it more surface area and more rigid. Yeah, we know. That's how aluminum works. You ever see like the aluminum with the weird, it always has a pattern on it? That's because a flat piece of aluminum is wobbly as heck, but if you stamp a pattern into it, it suddenly becomes a lot more rigid and solid and strong. That's right. And that's just the way it works. And yes, you've invented the thing that everybody already knew about, but whatever. I will say that in the cycling industry, there's Guardian bikes, which are a kid's brand of bike, which are stupid expensive, and they market like crazy, and they basically all their marketing is aren't aimed at saying that their bikes are so superior to every other body's bikes for a bunch of reasons, most of which are lies or just fabrications or not true, and some of which are like the things that have already been around for a long time. And one of them is their braking system. They have this braking system where, like, one brake lever and it controls both brakes, and it's so much better than regular brakes. And kids learn to ride their bikes instantly because of it. I don't know why that would be the case. Doesn't make sense on the face of it. But their brake system is just something called Sure Stop, which has been around for decades.
Right.
That we used to put on bikes a long time ago, and we stopped doing it because it sucks. It doesn't work very well. Okay. And it's hard to set up correctly, and it's hard to to have it work right. And so we stopped doing it for that exact reason, because it didn't work very well. But they repackaged it onto their bikes, and and because adults never ride them because they're only for kids, and the kid starts riding the bike immediately because kids learn how to ride bikes really quick. They're like, oh my God, the Guardian bike did it. No, it doesn't. This is the same thing. This is a new, older technology that's been around for a long time. They enhanced it slightly. That wasn't the case with the Guardian brake. That's just a sure stop brake that they just slapped on there. Anyways, the rider who got to hear the demo said the dual post prototype sounded like a woofer that was 6 times larger, with a performance of a 10-inch subwoofer squeezed into the box the size of a chunky hardback book, and delivering absolutely thumping bass that's capable of punching you in the torso, but also sounding super controlled and producing deep sub bass. So, anyways, Eric's just curious about what we think. Could this actually be a game changer? No.
No, not a game changer. Certainly not a total game changer. No. But I'm not opposed, objectively speaking, that perhaps size for size, compared to other racetrack-shaped bass woofers with the exact same area, right? Yeah. Like I'm just talking width and height, that because you have undoubtedly additional surface area and a pretty large excursion, that maybe these can go a little bit louder and a little bit lower than the exact same cutout of a flat racetrack driver. That I don't really doubt. That seems entirely plausible within the realm of physics, that they did enhance this. Maybe Def Tech, who loves themselves a racetrack driver, will license these things, or more likely just develop their very own version of it without having to pay a penny to GSS. That is the sort of thing that I could absolutely see happening in the not too distant future. And so, look, I don't begrudge GSS one little bit.
No, I don't either.
They didn't write the headline. They're like, hey, we took an existing technology and we made it a little bit better. I mean, that's a good thing. I want things in audio to be made a little bit better by companies who are trying something like this. So GSS Audio is right on for doing something like this. I'm doubting that the writer of the article got to choose the headline. It was their editor who chose the clickbait headline and called it a total game changer. And I don't really doubt that this thing can output 40 hertz and thump you in the chest. Yeah.
Right. But producing deep sub bass, like how did you experience this deep sub bass?
Right. Especially on room? A convention floor wide open, unenclosed. Yeah. But
this just tells me you don't know what sub bass is. Let's just start with that.
Doubt that this can thump at 40 hertz. That seems very plausible to me.
I think 35 hertz extension is very plausible for something along this line, on this line, which is impressive. I'm not saying it's not impressive.
Yeah.
And I'm not even mad at, and when I say GCS, and I was kind of mad at Guardian because of how they market things. This is not what I'm saying is happening with GSS. I think that they have created something and they're trying to sell it. Good on them. Yeah. And they should. What Tech Radar is doing, which is, I mean, this is kind of the name of the game, is they need to grab your attention, and they have done that.
Click on the article,
because of their clickbait title, and could it be a game changer? I mean, I really
no.
The reality is no. I really love the platforms we used to have. For a while, the sound platforms, sound bases. That's what they used to call them, where you would put your TV on top of it.
Right, when the TVs had pedestal stands, which is kind of making a comeback. Yes, not everybody loves the wide set feet on the very outer edges of the TV.
I don't love those either. Yeah. So having the platform come back, and this is a perfect product for it, because we used to have things like this in those sound platforms or sound bases. Which I wish would come back, because it's a lot more internal volume. You get a lot more bass out of it. It's a lot easier to place because you just put it on top of your furniture and you put your TV on top of it.
No, I do think these make sense for a sound bar, right? Like rather than having a 2-inch diameter circle driver, which is definitely not going to be able to extend as low and output as much bass as something that just obviously has more surface area. I mean, for GSS to say we took something and we think we made it a bit better, like great, good.
I love it. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it for that. Tech Radar, you can suck it. Dan has a detached garage, and he decided to put a WiiM Pro streaming device out there so he can easily play music in the garage. He didn't pay more for the WiiM amp because he had an old Sony STR DE845 receiver on hand, so he figured he could just use this amplification, and indeed, that functions just fine. But he really didn't think about turning everything off and on remotely beforehand. The Sony and the WiiM sit inside of a closet in the garage. Your garage has a closet? That's kind of cool. And while it's easy enough to power the WiiM on and off from its app, he has to remember to physically open the closet and power the Sony receiver on and off manually every time. Mm-hmm. The Sony is old enough that the highest end video connection is S-Video. So it's been around a couple of days.
Ain't got no HDMI connection, that's for sure.
And it doesn't have any 12-volt triggers or a network connection of any kind. Yeah. He lost its original remote a long time ago. Yeah. So he tried a smart plug that he'd be able to turn on and off from his phone that can turn the Sony off just fine by cutting its power. But when he turns the smart plug back on, the Sony just goes into standby. It doesn't actually power on. Yeah. So many ideas. He'd like to be able to control everything from his phone, and ideally that Sony would just power on and off. The Sony would just power on whenever he turns on the WiiM Pro streamer and power off along with the WiiM as well. So what do we suggest? So I would have suggested a Bluetooth speaker that you could just carry outside with you and turn it on and off. I actually have...
WiiM has their own powered speakers now, so yeah. Rather than buying the Pro, the streamer, and using the existing speakers, you could have bought WiiM's own little connected speaker that they have.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, if you're stuck with sticking with this because of how old it is, you're going to need some sort of remote control, because there's no way that you're going to be able to, I mean, outside of coming up with some weird method where you actually have like another device inside the room with the, in front of the receiver where it controls a little servo which makes a stick go forward and press the power button. Because that's really all there is no other way. The other way you could theoretically do it is if there's an RS-232 control on the back of the receiver. You could in theory do something, but
this was not a high-end receiver.
Yeah, I'm imagining if all it had was S-Video, then it's either so old that it wouldn't have an RS-232 control, or it's so basic that it wouldn't have an RS-232 control. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, that's how custom installers get access to all your stuff and can program.
things. Not anymore so much, but it was.
But the way
it
was back then.
Yeah. Rob? The obvious ideas of is there a network app for that Sony receiver? Well, on the modern ones there is, but this is old enough. It doesn't have any network connection of any kind, so there's no Sony app that's going to control this receiver via your Wi-Fi. And then, there was the idea hey, you could get a little infrared repeater, a very inexpensive infrared repeater, but he lost the original remote for the Sony, so he's going to have to get some kind of remote that can be programmed to control this thing anyway. So could I perhaps interest you in a Sofabaton X1S with its hub? Because
you would need a hub in this case.
You'd need something with a hub, because you don't even have to use the Sofabaton X1S wand remote. All of the functions can be replicated in the Sofabaton app on your phone. So if the whole idea is I only ever want to pull up my phone to control everything, well, you set the little Sofabaton X1S hub inside of the closet next to your Sony and WiiM, and then you control everything from the Sofabaton app, including you can control the WiiM, so you don't have to do the changing apps and go over to the WiiM app to turn the WiiM streamer on and off. You can do it all from the Sofabaton app, right in there, and then you also have the Sofabaton X1S remote itself if you ever want to use that. So that's certainly a solution that will function. I can guarantee that solution will function for you. It is spending a little bit of extra money, but given that you don't have the original Sony remote to use with an IO repeater and there's no network connection, there's not a ton else that you can do.
Yeah. Bluetooth portable outdoor speaker.
Sure.
I have one that stays on all the time for the most part at the bike shop. And when I walk in and I turn the power on, it directly connects to my phone immediately because it powers itself off.
Or you do actually go and buy the WiiM amp instead of just the WiiM streamer, and then everything is just the WiiM and you don't use that Sony receiver whatsoever anymore. That would be another solution.
In the same detached garage, he decided to install some in-ceiling speakers that he had on hand, but he installed them in the walls rather than the ceiling. He doesn't care that there are circles instead of rectangles. The wall studs are 2x6s, and there are fire blocks.
Yes,
Fire blocks about halfway up the walls, so there's already some kind of box inside the walls for the speakers. The wall cavities are filled with fiberglass insulation. So what's the installation procedure supposed to be here? Is it okay just to leave the insulation where it is and basically push the backs of the speakers into it to compress the insulation directly behind the speakers without moving it in the other way? Or should he be moving the insulation aside or taking some of the insulation out of the wall entirely? I don't see. We don't have a link to the speaker. Generally speaking, the speaker does not care of this insulation back there. Just push it in there and let it go. If it were me, I would clear out a little spot. It would bother me.
Dig a little divot in
there.
I mean, I was going to go back to what Sasi suggested, but might I interest you in some little foam back enclosures that'll just, it'll keep the air directly behind the in-ceiling speaker that you've installed in the wall. And these ones are only 5 inches in depth, so it'll work in a 2x6 wall. No problem. That might be the perfect application for what is essentially the rear enclosure inside of a car door, because it's a pretty similar situation that you're talking about.
If you read
here.
inside what the description of this product is on the website, you'll see all it really is meant to do is to keep debris away from the back of the speaker. That's all it's really meant to do, and that's what you're kind of talking about here.
That's what you're talking about here.
But the insulation, a lot of times once you move that insulation out of the way, it's not coming back. It's not falling down or anything. So it really shouldn't be an issue. But that being said, if it does bother you, you could do this. Heck, you could do it
for $16. I think that's what I would probably do. We found the perfect application within the same podcast episode.
Look at that.
Yes,
just fixing problems left and right. Greg would like to hear our opinions about the various Android TV streaming boxes, such as the Super Box and the VC Box, which is V as in the letter but lowercase, SEE instead of the letter C and then box, whatever. None of that makes any sense, by the way.
Not particularly. But in case you want to look it up for yourself.
Yeah. These are marketed as unlimited streaming providers that let you access streaming video content from all of the major providers without paying for any subscriptions. They appear to get around being straight up illegal by only shipping with bog standard Android TV or just plain Android if you like it. Like you'd find on the phone, but then including preloaded links to sideload apps yourself that give you access to pirate streaming sites.
Yes.
Worse than that, a number of studies have detected that a lot of these boxes create tons of background network activity that has nothing to do with streaming video. So there's every chance they're loaded with malware, or they're just working as a botnet, and they're largely targeted at Facebook Marketplace buyers or through social media. So Greg figures not worth the risk. But what would be our advice to listeners when it comes to these gray market Android streaming boxes? Even if I were of the opinion that that stealing things is okay, which I am not, that is a place of privilege that I come from. To be honest with you, I have the money because my wife has a good job that allows me to have a certain number of streaming services available to me. I am of the opinion that people would rather not risk thievery if they can get around it. You know what I mean? If they can afford it, they'll pay for it. Not everybody. Some people will steal no matter what. So a lot of times when you're looking at people who are pirating content and stuff, it's not like they would buy it, but because they can get it for free, they get it for free.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's they can't afford it no matter what. So you're never getting their dollars. At least you're not at this, at this point in their lives. A lot of times it's college students or people who are living paycheck to paycheck. So I don't really I have much more empathy for people who are doing this sort of thing. But clearly this box is set, these boxes that he's talking about, which are creating all this extra network activity. Clearly there's something nefarious going on here, and you're opening yourself up to it.
There are oodles of them. He mentioned 2 particular names that are actually pronounceable, but absolutely you'll find the, just mishmash of somebody slammed their palm down on their keyboard, mix of letters and numbers. Because, putting out a little completely unofficial Android box is not an exactly expensive venture for someone to do.
Raspberry Pi with a couple other things attached to it. Yeah.
It's not even, it's a cheaper chip than what's in a Raspberry Pi to do this. Yeah, so I mean, there's always marketed with the, never pay for streaming again and all those types of things, and they do make it remarkably easy to do this. So yeah, obviously we're not going to say in a podcast that we're on board with any sort of obvious piracy like this, which is 100% what these things are. But more than that, like the real concern, because look, if you're intent on pirating content, it's not like anybody can really stop you. So that's not what Greg is really talking about. It's more like these boxes they're marketed at your parents on Facebook, and they're like, hey, you want all the streaming content, but you never have to pay for it again, and they sound all friendly and stuff like that. And it's an inexpensive price, and but it's not so much the pirating of the streaming content; it's the fact that these things might be doing nefarious things in the background on your network activity.
There's really no might about it.
Yes. So all I would say is if you're completely intent on doing this, like the somewhat safer way is to just get a cheap, perhaps used Android phone, like an actual literal phone, and then just take the USB adapter cable and sideload your own apps on your own Android phone and do it that way. Because if you're getting a completely legitimate phone, but all you're doing is connecting it to your Wi-Fi and then sideloading your own app. But look, a lot of times it's those apps. It's those side-loaded apps that are absolutely not available on the official Android, Google Play Store because they're illegal. It's like, the apps themselves are going to be setting themselves up as a botnet completely aside from the hardware. So, yeah, look, you're absolutely taking your own risk if you do this, and we do not recommend it. So there you go.
I highly do not recommend it.
Indeed.
Paul asked us a little while ago if he should go ahead and buy a 77-inch Samsung S90F QD OLED from his preferred local shop, or just head over to Costco and get a LG C5 since his local shop is out of stock on that model right now. Or the model now anyways. So anyways, he wound up getting the Samsung S90F, and he loves it.
Yeah.
He does notice a bit of jerkiness to the motion when watching movies, though. Supposedly, the 90F does a good job of not having any judder no matter what frame rate you're feeding it, but he's seeing something that looks a bit jerky. Is that the OLED stutter he has heard about? If so, what's the recommendation for getting rid of that? The go-to ratings, because I have basically the same TV, right?
Yep.
This is like I don't know if it's the F. I think I have the D or something.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure yours was the D.
Yeah, and just go to ratings and look up what their settings are and do that, because that's what I did, and I've never noticed any motion judder,
right?
Ever. In any way, shape, or form. It's a beautiful image. And the only problem I have is my stupid son goes in there and turns the brightness down while he's trying to fall asleep. And then he doesn't turn it back up. And I'm like, stop it. So... Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I think you are seeing the stutter because, the S90F is very good at whether you're feeding it 24p or 30 frames per second or 60 or one of the non-integer numbers. It does a good job of not having actual outright judder, which is, showing 2 frames and then 3 frames and then 2 frames and then 3 frames from a 24 frames per second source, and having that very obvious jilted movement when there's a slow sideways pan across your screen. With OLED, you have that instantaneous pixel response time. So when you have lower frame rates being shown at 120 frames per second, you're going to notice like a slight little stutter to the movement. That is exactly what it sounds like you're seeing. So if you want to smooth that out without making it go all the way to the soap opera effect, ratings suggestion is to put that de-judder slider, go to the motion settings, and go to the custom setup, so that is not one of the pre-done ones, and slide that de-judder slider to a setting of 3. That's their recommendation. And look, you can experiment with it. If you're like, I see a little bit extra too smoothed out, maybe you move it down to 2 or 1. But it is okay to activate that de-judder processing just a little bit, because it does ever so slightly smooth that out without giving you the full-on weird-looking soap opera effect when you put that slider all the way up to 10. Give it a try. Put it all the way up to 10 and be like, ugh, that looks absolutely horrible. So, it'll let you know what's going on there. The de-blur setting, which is separate, that only applies to 60 frames per second signals, or 59.94 frames per second signals that come in. That's all the de-blur effects. And you know what? It's perfectly fine to turn that thing all the way up to 10, because I'll be honest, I played with the de-blur slider on every TV I've had. I can never really see the difference. It's like, because it's already 60 frames per second from the source, and the de-blur, I don't really know what it's doing that makes much of a difference to that look whatsoever. So it's perfectly fine to play with that. But yeah, set the de-judder to about 3 and turn it up or down a little bit to your taste, but that should get rid of what you're seeing there.
So now that he has 3 TVs in the house, he's thinking he'll move the 75-inch LCD that used to be in the theater to the upstairs room, and the 60-inch 1080p TV that used to be upstairs can go on a wheeled TV stand that he could wheel outside whenever they like to have a TV out in the patio. The TV stand would need to be to safely make it through some sliding glass doors with a bit of a lip to step over, and he doesn't want to risk disaster every time. So do we have a recommendation for somewhere around $100 for a good, stable, wheeled TV stand? There is no world in which I think I can wheel a TV on a stand that isn't nailed down outside of a sliding glass door thing, because my sliding glass door has a lip that you will literally stub your toe
as
on.
Most do.
Yeah. So I don't know how this works exactly without literally attaching the TV to the stand to the TV stand, the piece of furniture, and then doing it. So,
this is what I'm going to suggest from the company Pearl Smith. It's the all-in-one type where it's just it is a wheeled stand that you then put a regular Visa mount on the back of your TV and load that up. And what I like about this particular one, which is selling for $120, but I don't think that's so drastically over the $100 that you mentioned that we're like way out to lunch on this thing. First of all, can hold 110 pounds. There's no way your 60-inch 1080p TV is weighing more than that, but it is one of the more adjustable in terms of what the height of that TV screen ends up being. Many of them only give you about 3 adjustments. This one gives you 7. It gives you 7 different height positions. Like that's with the TV is already mounted on the stand. Then you can adjust the height of the stand itself in 7 different increments, which I quite like. It also has what, in my opinion, are a little bit better wheels that actually might have the clearance to go over that. But more than that, it's just it's just the width. It's the width of that stand base. You'll see a lot of these just kind of have like what looks like office chair wheels on the bottom of them with the 5 spokes, or they'll have the X pattern, which is not really that wide and stable. This one has a nice wide H-shaped base on it, 2 feet deep and over 2 feet wide. It's like it's got the stability that it's more likely to suit what you were asking for around the price you were asking for.
I think you can upgrade the casters on this thing too.
The
wheels on it, and I would try it out and then almost immediately probably do that because I have a feeling the metal is going to get in the way as you're trying to go over things.
It could, depending on the height of that lip. We're not certain what that height is.
Yeah. All right. What are we doing on time here?
Yeah, we're at about an hour 50s right now.
Mohsen in Australia. It's been a while since we talked about Mohsen's blacked out theater room, and here's some pictures. Look on YouTube or the Flickr album.
We have definitely seen this room before, but it's been a little while, so we can remind you and Tom what it used to look like.
Got a couple chairs in there. So the room is roughly 16 by 20 by 9 feet, and it's enclosed. He recently built a new riser for his rear seats that's just under a foot high. It's a sturdy wood frame with insulation filling it inside. He's been using his pair of SVS PB3000 subs for some time now. On our previous device, they're diagonally across the room for each other, one at the front, one at the back. They're not in the actual corners, but the front sub is to the left of the center, and the rear sub is to the right of the center. So they're mirrored, which is what we would suggest.
That's right.
He has settled on running those in sealed mode, and he's managed to achieve excellent extension with very good blend with his speakers, and the bass sounds clean and controlled. And it's as if each speaker is simply full range without a noticeable gap between speakers and subs. He also installed 2 Dayton Audio 300EX tactile transducers in his main seats with a separate Fozzy ZA3 amp on each one, or for each one. They've done a nice job of enhancing the very low frequency effects without feeling like a gimmick. So overall, he's very happy with what he's achieved for the low-end bass performance in his room, and he doesn't want to mess any of that up. But he does think it would be fun to feel more physical slam in his chest. He's aware that that's mostly in the 40 to 60 hertz region. He's tried boosting his tactile transducers, but you could tell those boosted vibrations were coming from the seat at that point, and that's not quite what he wants, and I don't blame you. That feels weird. He wants the actual air in his lungs to feel that bass pressure, so he's thinking that can only come from the subwoofers themselves. So we'd like to hear from us. Is there a way to achieve what he's looking for just using his existing pair of PB3000 subs without messing up the clean without messing up the clean control bass that he has right now, or is it just time to consider buying an additional pair of subs to add to his setup? He's sort of been there's a whole bunch of extra words here that we're going to say no to, but here we go. He's sort of been eyeing a pair of Tone Winner SWD 6000 15-inch subs and making his setup into a 4-corner subwoofer arrangement.
The man loves to spend money on his theater.
He's got no problems with that. He listens to the GCN of home theater, which is what? I don't know. One of those stupid websites. Anyways, would that be likely to improve the chest slam and overall tactile experience while also providing even better seat-to-seat uniformity? And what about that new seating riser? Should he maybe be looking at some way to use that somehow to increase the tactile sensation of bass in his room? You just want to change your target curve.
Yes.
Is all you need to do. Your current subs are perfectly capable of pressurizing this space.
This is an enclosed room. It's not a tiny room, but it is a very appropriately sized room for the PB 3000 subs from SVS. They are a very good match for one another, this room and those subs.
So your subs can pressurize this space just fine. Yep. You want more bass in a specific region, but this is the thing. Right? You're like, I have nice clean bass and it's nice and flat and I know it's perfect and it feels perfect and everything's perfect, but I want the bird to be more in this one frequency region without messing anything up. Okay. So bass can't read your mind, right? Can't decide that you want to have a chest thump only at a certain time of a movie. What you can do is change the frequency response so that, or your target curve, so that during certain frequencies it is boosted, which is not even clean bass throughout the entire space. It is even clean bass throughout the entire space, except for those frequencies where you want to boost. And guess what? You want to boost. And it'll always be during that time, and it will be fine. So I would say change your target curve so that you're getting a boost from 30 to 60 hertz, or maybe 35 to
40,
55.
40 to 60 is what I always start with,
and just boost it too much and then bring it back down is what I would do.
What I'm really going to recommend here is you got PB3000s.
Yeah.
They work with the SVS app.
Sure.
And
just
rather than just sit in your seat because you don't have to move, and rather than changing the equalization target curve in your pre-pro, actually change the equalization on the subwoofers themselves, because you can do that in the PB3000 with the SVS app. And the SVS app has more than one save slot for the equalization. So in the instances where you just want the smooth, even response without the 40 to 60 hertz bump, you can save that as slot number 1 in the SVS app. And then when you want the extra physical tactile chest thump with a 40 to 60 hertz bass boost, you can save that in a second slot, and you can pull all of that up from the SVS app without changing anything in your pre-pro and messing up your room correction that you've run or anything like that. And you can always get back to what you have right now. And then when you want to add a 40 to 60 hertz thump, or try from 30 to 70 hertz, or whatever you want, to different amplitude amounts, because you've got, I think it's a minimum of 3 save slots in the SVS app, and you can change all of that while you're sitting in your seat. So I'm like, it's great. You don't have to buy anything to do what you want to do. Furthermore, there is more output headroom capability from your PP3000 subs because you're currently running them in sealed mode, which is not necessary. You could run those fully open, both ports open. They're going to be absolutely fine down to 20 hertz in this room. In fact, more than fine, more than they are right now running in sealed mode. And while you don't get a tremendous boost in headroom in the 50 hertz and above region, where it really is the driver itself, whether the ports are active or not, that's producing most of the output, there's a little bit more headroom to be gleaned by running them in ported mode instead of sealed. So, but yeah, honestly, you can do this all from the SVS app. I don't think you need to buy a thing.
Yeah. All right. I don't love this next.
It's a little bit on the longer sides, yes.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to make me call you something like this, then I think I should get money for it. Basically, is what it comes down to. It's a very long question, and let's skip it until next week.
All right.
Yes, so you can say this person's name.
This is as requested, so they said, please call me this. So, okay, so the polyester pimp is going to be first up next week. I don't know that's why there was a request, but I'll abide by people requesting that, and send in some photos, some of which they didn't want shown publicly, so we'll abide by that too. So there you go. You're on the list, and you're first up next week.
We want to thank our listeners of the week. We want to thank Dan for going to AVRant.com, clicking on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and sending us a PayPal donation, as well as our 121 patrons over at Patreon.com.
Absolutely. Yes, Dan, thank you so much for that PayPal donation. Really appreciate that financial support there. And patreon.com/AVRant podcast is where you can go to sign up to make an automatic monthly donation if you'd like to. And a big thanks to our 121 patrons holding strong over there.
So we got some notes of gratitude from Eric, Hubert, Dan, Mohsen, Guy, Luke, Greg, Jefferson, Jorge, Drew, and Galen. Thank you for thanking us.
Yes, I'll say the names one more time. We got Eric, Hubert, Dan, Mohsen, Guy, Luke, Greg, Jefferson, Jorge, Drew, and Galen. Thank you very much for those notes of gratitude and encouragement. We really appreciate them. Big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions. And I'll just hop in here because, we got question@avrant.com showing there, but I wanted to reiterate that we do have a Sofabaton U3 giveaway that is going to happen in the upcoming weeks. We want to give people at least another week or two to enter their names, and we are giving away at least one Sofabaton U3 remote, but it seems very likely we will be able to give away more than one, including with them the charging dock, which is an optional add-on, but it seems very likely at this point, but no promises made. I promise we will give away at least one Sofabaton U3 remote for sure. So if you would like to enter that giveaway, one entry per person, please. You just email us question@avrant.com for that and say you would like to enter your name in the Sofabaton U3 giveaway. I will email you back to say that I received your entry. So if you send that email and you hear nothing back from me, send it again, because we are certainly not ignoring anybody or excluding anybody. No purchase necessary.
All right. If you want to get your question answered, all you have to do is ask. You ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. For AVRant, I'm Tom Andry.
And I'm Rob H. Now go out and listen to something.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.